All right. Here we are. I think I missed a couple days. Sometimes I don't even know how the hell I do this, to be honest. Sometimes, because life can get so hectic. It does with everybody, every one of us, right? It's not easy. Being alive isn't easy. Isn't that funny? It's not easy. I wonder why it isn't easy. Is it meant to not be easy, or is it created to not be easy once we get here at this stage of the game in our evolution? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, quick note. Important one. I feel important. And for all of you who are and do... Hold on a minute. There you go, Pop. Some room for Adventure Dog down there. For all of you who are aware, think for yourself. Keep tabs. Excuse me, keep tabs on what's going on. And try to foresee what's coming. I strongly, strongly suggest you listen to this podcast. Now, I've promoted Sean Ryan podcast on here in the past, but this episode in particular with Tim Kennedy. Hopefully I remember to put a link in the bottom of this video. If you've got dog hairs. I knew who Tim Kennedy was. He's a UFC fighter. He's a past military guy, but I didn't quite understand exactly who this man was before I listened to this podcast, and this dude is something else. Oh my god, I mean, this guy's brain is firing on another level. But anyway, the two of these men, I have absolute respect for both of these men, and they have been around the world, seen a lot, know a lot. They are no bullshit types of characters. They're no bullshit character type. And it's a long podcast. It's 4 hours. So if you've got a spare hour even, I think one of the most important messages I picked up from it that I would like to pass on to all of the people who are looking and listening and looking ahead because they care about themselves, their futures, their family, their children's future. I would strongly suggest if you got to dump me for this hour and go straight to this one and listen to roughly the last hour of the conversation. Did I mention 4 hours? God, you know what? Just the other night on a side note, I went fishing with the Adventure Dog, had to take a time out. And then on the way back, we stopped at the grocery store and they got that pre-cooked shit in a trough. And I got some chicken wings and something else I hadn't ate anything. And oh my God, I was rolling around all night long in absolute stomach frickin' pain until 6 in the morning before I could fall asleep. Bad. But anyway, I listened to that whole podcast and I was kind of taken back by the similar words they spoke during the last hour that I have come up with on my own. So it's relieving for me to hear that from two men who I feel are probably 10 times more intelligent and aware than I am. So it felt good to hear the same messages and the same words come out of their mouths that I have been spewing from just what I've been taking in on my own. There you go. I would strongly suggest you watch at least the last hour, okay? Now, I think because if you are aware, you're going to know what's probably coming up. And that's no conspiracy bullshit. This is solid. I wish I could convince every single person listening to be very, very aware of what is really going down. This is going to be one hell of a year, no matter what. And there's going to be a lot of people blindsided, without a doubt. I mean, I've been hearing that message from different sources for forever. We all have. But right now, I am 110% convinced we just all need to be very aware and start speaking with each other more about more than just the topics that dominate this channel, right? There you go. There's my spiel. Now, slowly getting my shit together. Who are we going to listen to this morning? Not that I pick and choose. Hopefully there's no hate mail in here. I had quite the volley. The last couple of weeks have been very, very challenging at this house. Very challenging. And I can't help it. It's probably one of my weaknesses, but when I get attacked, I can't just walk away. I wish I could. Sometimes I kind of can, but it's kind of weird. And when I'm on my own business, I try to help people. It's all I do. When I get attacked or somebody close to me gets attacked, I just go into fight mode. Especially when I'm tired and we got a bunch of shit on the go. Anyways, I'm babbling. Here we go. Listen to this. What is this about? I don't have time to read. Okay, it says, not a Sasquatch encounter. Read privately first. I've got time, man. I'm going to read it. Steve, I'd like to share by saying thank you. There are so many people on this planet who have trouble telling their story, and you have given them a safe place to share without ridicule or the harsh shaming that is all too common in most corners of the intraweb and the real world. I don't have an encounter of my own to share. My great-grandfather had a couple of weird experiences that sound similar to some of the stories read on your channel, but that's not what I'm writing you about. At this point, I think we can agree that there are too many encounters for it all to be a hoax. Oh yeah, we're way past that. And I got the heater going. It's freezing in here, and you're gonna have to put up with the heater background sound. Or I am, I guess. It only bothers me, right? I don't need to see them to believe they are out there. I mean, I've never seen a water molecule, but obviously they exist. The closest that I can come to an encounter with one of these beings is one time a friend of mine and I heard something across a lake where we were fishing. And when we tried to shine our flashlight across to see what it was, all we saw was something big and black at the water's edge. When we pointed our very weak lights across at it, whatever it was bolted up the bank and into the timber, making a hell of a racket, and moved very, very quickly. We could hear it going all the way to the top of the hill. It would seem to take it no time at all. Just a couple of minutes through some fairly dense underbrush and trees, and then it was gone. We chalked it up to a possible black bear, and that was the end of it. Although bear sightings were rare in the area, eastern Kentucky near the West Virginia border, what I'm really writing about is something that I get funny looks for bringing up in conversation that has implications for every human and non-human on the planet. It is my personal belief that a major event looms on the horizon for us. Coincidence. How many times have we had that? I go off on a topic and then the first email read or the next email read is possibly similar. All right, we'll keep going. Not a man-made event, but something even the bastards who try to control every aspect of our lives can do anything about. It won't be announced until it's already here. If then. You may have heard about a coming flip of the Earth's magnetic poles. A flip? That'd be something major. I remember on that topic a while back, I listened to some elder Inuit people. And the elders said that the Earth had shifted off of its axis a little bit. And that was the explanation for the changing weather patterns. And I believe them. Sorry. This is not just a story to put out to scare people. It's a very real thing that occurs about every 12,000 years or so. Scientifically proven. Just not talked about much due to the panic it would cause. I mean, the slaves won't go about the business of working to benefit those at the top of the financial food chain if they know what those billionaires are actually spending all that money on. Like underground bunkers and rockets to get off the planet and such. Sometime after that pole reversal, the sun will also do something very detrimental to all life on Earth. It is best described as a micronova. All of this is basically the Book of Revelation, without all the religious undertones. The sun goes dark, and about 3 days later, boom, we are basically restarting civilization. We'll already be in the dark by then, most likely from the weakening magnetic field that protects us from the harmful effects of the sun we already experience. That field is weakening at a rate never seen in our age. Ben Davidson has a channel on YouTube called Suspicious Observers. His channel has entire playlists which can explain it way better than this old hillbilly can, so please take the time to check him out. You're obviously a man who treasures knowledge and wisdom, so I would be a complete ass not to share this with you. I share this as many people are receptive to it. I get the same ridicule and disbelieving attitude as those in the Club of No Return do when sharing their experiences. These events are still a little way off by all accounts, but how does the expression go? It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from here. The world won't end, but the world we know is gone forever. Ever wonder about all those ancient buildings like the pyramids or other structures scattered around the planet? The ones that the scientific community had no real idea who built them? Cave paintings that show a great destruction? The clues have been there all along, but we have been trained to ignore them. The same bastards that run everything know this is coming. There's a military plane flying around up there. It's kind of loud. That's why shit is going so nuts with all the governments in the world. All the spending like there is no tomorrow and taking away our rights and freedoms. They know it's getting close. I'll leave a link for you to Ben's channel so you can find it easily. This is meant for you, bro. Do with it what you will. I shared it with a lot of people. Some are receptive, most are not. Kind of reminds me of another topic, LOL. Thanks for the truth you share. Truth is becoming far too rare these days, so I commend you, my friend, for your willingness to be the conduit for honest folks to share their stories with no judgment. You're much appreciated. If you decide to share this, please withhold my name. If you don't share it, could you email me back so I know you've read it? Peace to you and yours. Tell Sarah we are wishing her a speedy recovery. Thanks again. Okay, man, appreciate you. I appreciate messengers. Big time. Too many messengers get shot, right? And if I get time, I will go and I'll listen to it. Sounds important, but for me, just for me in this house, I've been gearing up. I'm not what you call a prepper. I just have common sense, and I know not to have, I do not rely on another man for existence. That's just me. I am absolutely as independent as I possibly can be. Financially, food-wise, my mind, everything. So I'm basically at a point right now, I'm like, bring it on, man. Bring it on, I'm good to go. We're good. As good as we're gonna get. And, but I will have a look at that video for sure. And consider it shared. And we appreciate the messengers. And, there you go. I'll stop babbling. And I absolutely appreciate the kind words and words of encouragement. Keep going, my man. Keep going. Keep digging. Every 12,000 years, there's one thing that you cannot argue about is the fact that so-called, civilizations, modern civilizations, have come and gone before us. And if every single human being, once you become aware of that, why you would not be curious how they ended, would be pretty irresponsible. Right? Because it happened to every single civilization before us. Can't happen to us though, right? Babbling. My Chicago Burb Sabe Story is the title of this next email. Excuse me. Well, Steve, my name is Rocco DeMarco. I am from the south suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, roughly 40 minutes south of the giant piece of concrete. I recently figured out how come I was unable to attend school from 1st grade to 6th grade on Halloween back in 1983 to 88 roughly. A couple years ago, for some reason, while fishing on the Kankakee River, Kankakee River, at my buddy's secluded cabin area, I felt like something was watching me, and then I witnessed some logs getting thrown in the water late, 3 or 4 in the morning, and everyone claimed it to be a beaver slap tail. You know, whatever. And I seen it happen. Anyways, that sparked something in my brain and made me remember back to the early 80s being in the garage with my uncle and cousin while looking at the window. I seen the face of a Sabe/Sasquatch. I may be being 4 years old and I didn't really scare me then, but once I started seeing movies, I started getting pretty jarred. I remember 1st grade going to the bathroom on Halloween and one of the teachers were dressed up like a headache mask on or something or gorilla something. That's how it's spelled. Headache mask, probably a typo. Or gorilla something like that, and came into the bathroom. Just used the bathroom. I was using the bathroom, and I got so scared. I remember calling my mother to come and pick me up from school. I made up that I was sick. So basically, after weeding through all the wasteless nonsense channels and TV shows on Sabe, I came across your channel, and it's basically opened up a spot in my mind again to realize my encounter. Thank you so much for what you do for me and the community, and good well wishes to you and Sarah. Stay kicking ass and getting rid of the names we don't need. Over and out, and I don't know why people put their name and say don't use it, but use mine. Used, shared. Rocco, appreciate you, man. Hope you're safe and well over there. And a lot of people, some people probably think you can't remember back then. You can't remember that shit when you're that young. Oh yeah? What do you remember from kindergarten? I remember lots. What do you remember from grade 1? I remember a lot. I remember lots. So, yeah, there's no question about it when somebody says they saw something like this when they were that young. Without a doubt, they recall it. Man, I'll never forget one of my memories in kindergarten. I remember all this young, dark-haired girl named Yvonne came running up and kissed me right smack on the lips, and I was in kindergarten. It scared the shit out of me. Never forgot that. Right? So you can remember something like that when you're that young, seeing a face looking at you in the window. Without a doubt. Yeah. Oh, here we go. This is titled Resent with Punctuation this time and edited. Vocals from last night attached at bottom. Had to forward because I originally sent the wrong email. Okay, this is the one I gave up on when I had 2 hours sleep or something. Sorry, Steve, I use talk and text. I have a hard southern accent, so the talk text doesn't interpret redneckanese. So I went back through it and edited it. Right on, man. Appreciate you. You started the other day and backed out because, Steve, I've sent you stuff before. This is Josh from West Tennessee, although I'm sure you probably won't remember because you get so many. Anyway, long story short, I own 50 acres in Benton County, Tennessee, close to the Tennessee River. About 4 years ago, and we're clearing out to make a few campsites for a little small RV park, and the rest of the land is going to be an off-grid, self-sustaining farm. One of the first times we burnt brush as a byproduct of clearing the land was the first time I'd ever even thought about Sasquatch. Basically, this land is untouched. For 50 years or so, they just cut hay on it. It's mostly wooded with a couple of hay fields. It used to be part of several thousand-acre farm way back in the day before it was cut up and sold off. So as I cleared trees, I hauled the logs to my sawmill and used the rest for firewood or pile it up and burn a brush pile. I hadn't been here but a couple of weeks at the time. So we were burning our first huge brush pile, and all of a sudden we heard something that started out kind of like a peacock and then trailed off into whoops like a monkey. It done it once, waited 3 seconds, done it again. Looking back on it, after what I've learned and thinking about it, basically what I think happened was they smelled smoke from the fire and sent one to check out what was going on. There's 2 of us, so I think he was calling back to the group to say there was 2 humans there. And the reason I think that is because, like I said, this land has been untouched. There has been nobody around it, and it just makes sense that's what he is doing. So the vocalization was louder than any possible animal could have made, just like all the other people tell you. It started off sounding like a peacock. If you never heard a peacock and you don't know what it is, it sounds like a girl screaming. So at the time on the spot, I thought, man, there's no way that's a Sasquatch. Side note on the peacock, if I ever had peacocks, like say, were neighbors to me, I'd shoot them. That scream is so loud and annoying, it's crazy. So at the time on the spot, I thought, man, there's no way that's a Sasquatch. Now this is before I ever started listening to you, so this event right here is what led me to the trail of your page And I listened ever since. You know, I've done a lot of other research. So, as soon as this thing vocalized me and her both looked at each other, and she said, "What the hell is that?" And I told her, "I don't know, but I've been in the woods all my life, hunted all my life, grew up in the mountains of East Tennessee. Now I've never heard anything like that." So I told her, "Let's just put the fire out and go inside." About 5 to 8 minutes later, we're putting the fire out, and on the other side, one of them stomped the ground and huffed at me. Basically, heart checking me is what he did. So the next few days I spent researching. You know, I'm just like you. I don't want to can't say that everything is a Sasquatch, so I tried to rule everything out. There's just no way, man. There's no mistaking. I mean, one of them stomped the ground. And she said, "Well, maybe it's a deer." You and me both know a deer is not going to walk up to a massive bonfire and start huffing at people like everyone else says. The volume and the girth of it is just an animal. Can't do that. So I started researching, and I started entertaining the possibility of what this thing was. So as time rolls on, everything started happening. They start getting out of my trash can. I've already sent that story in, and you know, I just, like everybody else, I try to do the game camera thing and finally gave up. Good choice. So eventually, I'll start leaving food, for which I know I shouldn't, but anyway, I did, and they cleaned a new circle around this stump that I would leave the food on. They cleaned the ground, piled up all the underbrush, cleaned everything out except to leaves. And when I would take food, you know, sometimes I take them Arby's, sometimes I'd give them tuna, sometimes I take them cookies. But whatever I took them, they would always put the wrappers back in the box or with a bag and leave it on the stump. And they would actually clean up their mess. Holy shit. But one night, I'll drop the voice-activated audio recorder a few yards away and kind of kick some leaves over it. And they went straight to it, found it. I've got that audio. You can hear him walking up to it. You can hear him pick it up. And on audio recorder, when you're messing with it, with your hands, and it sounds like static, for the microphone is so sensitive. Anyway, they picked it up, and they sniffed like a dog, or something does. Like a sniff, 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 sniff. Then they threw it to the ground. I think because on the recording it sounded like that. And it sounded like they were stomping it. Or it could have just been pushing buttons. I'm not sure which, but it was one of the two for sure. Anyway, several other things have happened. They're just here. They're here all the time. Sometimes it may be, you know, a few weeks or a month or two before I see or hear something, but I'll be out working on stuff and I'll sneak up and watch. Me and I always whistle when I know they're around. I just gotta read it the way it's typed, okay? He's got a couple mistakes, no big deal, we'll get it. And I always whistle when I know they're around, and that time I figure that kind of lets them know that I'm not a threat to him and that I realize they're there. And to be honest, you know, just like you, there's no way that anybody knows what these things are thinking other than just gathering evidence. But I really do feel like it messes with him because I know they're there, because you got to think about it. These things are used to people not knowing about them being there. And for a long time last summer, you know, I got pretty bad desperate. I wanted to get them on camera. I've got night vision recording binoculars and a few other things. If I'd had those night vision recording monoculars last summer, I'd have good footage of them because I could pull up to the tree line and catch their eye shine every night. And they would stay just far enough back where I could just see their silhouette and their eyes shining in the spotlight. They wouldn't get very close, you know, so I couldn't get real good footage. I've got several lifestyle videos, but you just can't really tell what it is. Some of them you can see a silhouette, but you know, that didn't mean anything to anybody. But anyway, I'm going to send you the video from last night around 2 a.m. that woke me up hollering. It took me a few minutes to get outside to get my phone booted up, but you can catch it in the first 10 or 15 seconds of this video. You hear them clear as day. Use earbuds. Anyway, love the channel, listening every day. Appreciate you, Steve. I know you don't really care about those anyway, but I'll attach them, one from last night, because it's so much better than usual. Has several good recordings, and they're just videos of me walking around, and you can hear them in the woods. This part's only for you, Steve. 1 minute. Okay, got you, man. Appreciate your email. And you know what? Be safe out there, right? On average, I don't think anything too good has come from supplying these people with food. Teach their own. You'll know what to do. Follow your gut anyway, right? And on sending me, just me, odd photos or audio, you know my attitude, and just don't take this as insulting, because I'm not insulting. I'm honest, straight up all the time on the channel. Whatever. You know, for me, whatever. It doesn't really do much for me, right? Especially since I've seen it. Probably just the fact that I've heard them, I've seen them, so I'm good. Now I'm moving along. You know what I mean? I don't need to gather up every odd photo or recording that I can find for me. I don't have any use for it myself. But if you have something substantial or something you feel the people may want to hear or see, send it away, man. I'll share it. It's just myself. Like I don't decide to not share things with all of you just because it may not interest me. Obviously, right? I share with you guys everything all the time. But it's just me, man. So don't worry about me when it comes to photos and the recordings too much. And then on the question you also gave me, if something like that does happen, I've got this email from you, and I do have the answers what to do. So, if something like that does happen, just email me and said it happened. That's all I gotta say. Okay? And I can take it from there. Now, I'm gonna have to, I can't comment on that recording this second because I don't have it. I'm gonna have to log on to my email, dig that up, and get the attachment downloaded, put it to the video, okay? And I'll do that now. Now, here we go. What's this one? This is titled Dogman, bracket, German Hundemann. Hundemann. On the name, not an account. This is short, no name required. Gotcha. In German, Hundemann translates literally as hound man, meaning dog man, occurs as a man who works with dogs like a huntsman. Also, someone who likes / prefers dogs as a pet. Also, a surname. Also, a cryptid dog man. It's alleged that German lore includes creatures matching the cryptic dog man. One source, a case in the 2010s in a small German farming village where the locals started seeing a creature turning up nearby. The locals referred to this creature as a Hundemann and said that they turned up in the long history of the village, which didn't comfort them any. Over months, this progressed to farmers finding extremely graphic scenes at their farms, multiple sheep at a time, torn apart and partially consumed. There was an increase in sightings and attacks, lasting some months before it ended, leaving the town folk disturbed and unsettled for a number of years. The village existed long before the modern term for the cryptic dogman was used, but it's unknown how far back in their history the villagers referred to their creature as a Hundmann. Be curious to see how far back in German written lore the term Hundmann turns up as a creature, same or similar to what we call the cryptid dogman. I still like the Sabe's alleged term of wolf creature for these. Wolf seems to be a lot closer to the descriptions in a dog, and its descriptions have it moving bipedal, but on legs that are unlike a man's. So, creature over man also makes more sense to me. Be hard to replace the widely used dogman. There you go. Appreciate that little chunk of history. And our sleuths are going to start digging into that, no doubt. What is it, the Egyptian Anubis? What are you doing? It's funny when they go to shift their bed, she's standing up doing a circle with her nose down. I thought, what are you doing? Getting ready to puke down there? Scratching out a new position. Anyway, the dogman is blatantly in our faces in history. The history that still exists today and they can't hide it. And the Egyptians are one of them. It's very, very real. The dogman thing is very real, and I am one who previously didn't have any time to even entertain it. Do I want to see one? Not really. If I see one, am I going to shoot it? 100% I'm going to shoot it right in the face. There you go. Moving along. What's this? Short one. No title. East Texas Thermal. Hey Steve, appreciate your bravery. For someone to be so vocal on a subject that is so taboo to me is amazing. I'll never doubt that you and your followers believe the encounters that you've seen or what they think they have seen. However, as being a 53-year-old outdoorsman from my childhood in the deepest, darkest MFing woods anybody could travel into, I've never seen or heard of anyone around here having an encounter. These people are my kin and have been in this area for 170 years. You say you're not into it, but you know where they travel. I'm from deep East Texas, Angelina National Forest area. Born and raised, big woods. I'm a thermal hog slaughterer, to be precise. Maybe give me some tips on how to conjure them out. They are apparently everywhere from what you writers say. Why aren't they here? I'm gonna drop you a pin of where I live. They're there. They're there. It's just, and don't take this as insulting at all, because I don't insult people here. Well, I do, but I don't insult people that write in for honest information. I insult the sons of bitches whenever I feel like it, but that's about it. But this is what's probably going down. You're out there slaughtering the shit out of hogs with a thermal. For what I pick up on, you are probably very interested in putting the crosshairs on one of these people and smoking them, without a doubt. And that is why you don't see them. 110%. I know it's going to be tough for you to wrap your noodle around it. These beings know exactly your mindset when you're out there at nighttime with a gun. And if you ever... Here, listen to this. I'm going to share this little story, and this will help you too. Well, as far as how many years you spent in the woods and not seeing shit, or somebody around your neighborhood hasn't seen shit, your delivery may be strong when bringing up the topic if you do. Maybe when you bring up the topic, maybe you're very A-type and overbearing, who knows, I don't know. But you might be bringing it up to your local community members with a bit of a laugh or sarcasm tone to your questions, right? Anybody who sees anything that's described here in this channel typically do not want to share it with family members. Okay, man? So when you know that and accept that as fact, most people don't want to share it with their family. I'll guarantee you there's a bunch of people in your community that there's no frickin' way they're going to share this shit with you. Not a chance in hell, unless they can see it in your eyes and hear it in your tone that you are absolutely sincere about either A, seeing one, maybe hearing one, or want to know about it. Anyway, a quick answer to a quick little story that'll help answer your confusion of why you're not seeing shit. And maybe it might possibly because of your mindset, your demeanor when you're out there, right? And I've shot a lot of hogs with a thermal too. It's fun and shit, and it's creepy out there too, right? But anyway, I'm with Dr. John Bendernagel. I'm at the University of Victoria over 20 years ago, and it was one of the first times he was having a public seminar thing going on. Not that many people in there, but there's enough. I didn't really give a shit. Has a new book, answering questions, newspapers there, blah blah blah. Everybody's bullshitting afterwards. He took me for breakfast before then or after then, I forget. But anyway, here's the point I'm trying to get to. This quiet man at that time, I don't know, he's probably 40. He's in the background, not talking to anybody, came by himself. He's got a notebook, a pencil or pen, and John's new book at the time. And he's listening to his talk, and I'm talking to the newspaper lady. I'm like, what was I saying? It said something about, nobody wants to talk about it because everybody's going to be laughed at. And I go, I don't give a shit. I've seen one of these things. I'll stand up. I remember saying to her, I'll stand up in a football stadium full of people and belt out that I've seen one. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And then after that, this quiet man walked up to me and John and says, I've seen one. And we're like, oh, no way. Let's hear about it, right? I wasn't even on the internet then. I know I wasn't, because the fisheries officer friend of mine, who I invited along with me, who laughs at the topic, he was the one who made my first email address for me for email. I don't even know what the hell he was talking about when he did it, and that was then. So I wasn't even on the internet then. So this guy's deer hunting with his friend south of Kamloops, British Columbia, in the timber. He said they were split up. He's looking down a draw. Okay, follow me. And this will help you with possibly not seeing anything. And he said that he saw something dark going from tree to tree to tree, down, way down below him in the draw. He says he saw something moving down there. He said it was black. Didn't know what it was. And then he said, all of a sudden, it's just there in front of me. And we're listening to him like, what? What do you mean it's just there in front of you? He says, it's just standing in front of me. I go, how far away? It's like 18 yards. I'm like, no way. This is like right in your face. He goes, oh, yeah. And he's just standing there. He said it had a look on his face, like he was absolutely in shock, surprised to see him, like, huh? So they're both looking at each other like this. What? And he said that all of a sudden, I'm trying to get the line of events. He said that all of a sudden he felt, no, he said, when he said it was 18 yards, he said, I had my scope on it. I'm like, what? You had your scope on it from 18 yards? Yeah, 30 out of 6. I go, you saw the whites of his eyes. He goes, I saw the wrinkles. I saw everything. He said he put his crosshair from one eyeball to the next eyeball, down to the mouth, and then put the crosshairs back on his forehead. So if you've ever held a rifle with a scope, everybody else listening, that's frickin' close. When you say you move the crosshairs from one eyeball to the next eyeball, down to the mouth, and up to the forehead, that thing is filling his field of view. He can see its frickin' nose hairs. But then he said all of a sudden he had a flooding feeling of calmness came over. So you can't explain it. It just felt real calm, like everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then he said that all of a sudden this being jumped behind the big tree that was beside it and then starts peeking out like this. And moments later, his buddy came walking up to him. So this thing possibly sensed his buddy coming up and would not allow itself to be wide open view to his buddy. Why is that? Right? So follow me. So they both have rifles. This thing was just standing there wide open, allowing this man to put the crosshairs of his 30-06 on his forehead. Just stood there. But then his buddy came into the scene, and he did not want his buddy to see him at all. This starts peeking out like this. And he said that his friend saw a look on his face, and he was like, what the hell's going on? What's going on? He goes, look, look, look. So his buddy looks over, and here's this thing peeking out from behind the tree. Imagine that, 18 yards away, and you never even heard of these beings possibly then. And he said that his buddy started shitting himself. What the F is that? What the F is that? And he said that. Now here's the key point I'm sharing with you and everybody else. They both got guns on it, right? So buddy drops his rifle. He puts original man puts his rifle up. He said the thing really looked out. Whole head comes out, looking at them. Puts his gun down. His buddy puts his gun up, then goes back against the tree like this. Just shaving an eyeball out, looking like this. Buddy puts his gun down, sticks his whole head out. He, the original guy, puts his rifle up, and just keeps his head wide open to him. No problem. What's up with that? So I said to him, the man, I said, what's your buddy like? Is he like a shooter? Is he a killer? Has he got a quick fuse? In a way, whatever I tried to get across. And he goes, oh yeah, he's definitely a killer. He's a killer. There you go. So, because I was looking for answers to this topic a long time before that, by then I think I was 20, I don't know, 25? And I'd already seen one of these things when I was 17. And then I was wondering how they can elude us so easily, and I always felt that they feel you coming. There's no way it's from eyes and ears. They feel you coming or something, right? And then I remember wondering, I was putting it together when my grandfather was come over the bank from the forest floor, and that thing's down there in the creek bed. And that always made me wonder, okay, something's up with the creek, the aggregate, the terrain, the water, something. Something is your Achilles heel when it comes to them being seen along river creek beds. And I remember that mystery in my head, wondering how it is. What is it that's confusing their senses when they can't sense a human being walking up on them? Usually when they're next to a creek or a riverbed. But anyway, there you go. I have a funny feeling that possibly you and the man, his hunting partner, may have something in common. Right? And if you do, that's probably why you've never ever seen one. You probably never will. Another side note. What's his name? I knew his son. Lived in the same town. Oh my God. Rene DeHinden. He was one of the original, very original big names in the Bigfoot Sasquatch community. Then he was out there looking non-stop. I think he dumped his family to carry on looking non-stop. Lived in Harrison. And he never seen one. Never seen one. Apparently he may have been involved in the alleged killing of them at the Patterson-Gimlin film. Whole another rabbit hole. But there you go. There's my long-winded explanation of why you probably aren't seeing one and why you're probably not going to see one. And there's nothing I could do or say to you, or no direction I could point you to put you in front of one. You really want to see one? Go out there in the middle of the woods, camp out with a fire and no weapons, and hang out absolutely by yourself for a handful of days on end. That would probably be your highest chance if you do that. And I've suggested that to a lot of people. So far, not one has done it. Not one. Now, this is titled, Sabe Peeing on My Truck Tire. Hi Steve, I was doing a backhoe job helping some friends out in May. The neighbor stopped by to tell us he would be shooting his big guns off today. Last night, that was him shooting his 22 off. Let's back up to the day before. After we were sitting in the shade having a few beers, I looked at my friends with a straight face and said, "You've been living in this river canyon for years. Have you ever seen anything outside of the normal in these woods?" With an odd look, they said, "Like what?" "Just a few bears and mountain lions." I said, "Like the Sasquatch people. In this river canyon, you must have heard strange screams and whoops." We heard mountain lions scream, but no Bigfoot. Their son John said, "Dad, what about that huge turd I found behind his house?" John told me he found a huge turd just outside his back window and showed his dad. What could have made such a turd? It was as big around as a wine bottle and 18 inches long. It was the biggest scat he'd ever seen. I told them all my encounters in my life and how I know there are people that were here long before us. Back to the meat of this story. The neighbor had seen the Sasquatch decal on the side of my backhoe and felt comfortable talking to me. When he said he would be shooting his high caliber rifles off today, and for us not to worry, just target practice. I got up out of the ditch and walked to my backhoe for a tool I needed. The neighbor followed me. He held his hand at the top of my front tire and said, "I have a 3-ton truck in my yard, and almost every night something comes in his yard and pees on it. There's a puddle on the ground and it smells real musty." I asked him, "Do you see any tracks?" He starts telling me his pygmy goats keep coming up missing, and he was searching the hillsides for them. He said way up the hill in the brush and poison oak so thick he found a flat shelf where something had been bedding down up under the brush. He crawled up under there and found his wife's large porcelain bowl with bright yellow flowers on it that she put fruit out on the patio table in for the grandkids. All right, so he meant he... Okay, we got it. And an umbrella stand that looked like vines that weighed 40 pounds to hold up a yard umbrella that went missing 2 years ago. As I told him what I think might have taken them, he told me last night something was after his goats again and was screaming like a woman. I said there's other things out there, other than mountain lions that scream like a woman, like Sabe. When he did not ask what a Sabe was, I knew he had been researching them. I told him of my life's encounters with them. He felt more comfortable and said, last night one was screaming behind a tree not 30 feet away, and he was shooting his .22 into the ground, trying to scare it away, and it did not move. Then he said his son watched it twice in the day walking on the hill next to the house. I told him, don't shoot it, whatever you do. Try putting up some CCTV cameras and to hire me to clear a fire break around his place. He was going to shoot off his big guns tonight. I went back to work. Later that day, I was dressing up the job, raking the slopes and gravel out. Raking the sloops and gravel out. I froze when 5 deer came and stood right by me. I thought, man, you're tame. The lady I was working for watched all the deer come up to me and came out to see what I was doing to make them come up to me. I was looking up the hillside at a huge red stump, shading my eyes to get a better look at what I was looking at. She said the deer must like you. And not to be rude, I turned to look back at her, and when I turned back to show her what I was looking at, it was gone. I went back after the rain to see how much erosion had occurred on the hillside. I found tracks in the mud that had been rained on. I took out my phone to take a photo, even if they were washed out tracks, and my phone was dead. I can't wait to go back out there. The neighbor wants me to clear a fire break. I'll find out whatever happened. Sorry this is long. If you square up with these people and ask, you never know what you might hear. I took down my fence to build a new one. Early one morning, something slapped my house so hard it knocked spices off the shelf. A friend I let stay with his camper thought I was full of it. Said the other night something shook his camper so hard it was going to tip over. Now I have a 10-foot Sabe on the hill, letting everyone know they are real. I'm 65 years old. You can say my name, Steve. John Wunschel. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, John. W-N-S-C-H-E-L. Wunschel. And there's your cutout in your yard. There you go. There you go. And there you go. Good advice for your buddy. Good advice for your buddy. It's true, though. I wouldn't take a shot at one. You don't want to start a fight that you can't finish. Right? Anyway. That would be terrifying, being in a camper getting shook. I mean, I was in a cabin with the back wall getting blasted behind my head by myself. Pitch black out there, no lights out there, no curtains on the frickin' windows. There's nothing I could do. I just got up. Excuse me, went and grabbed my old rifle, loaded it, put it down beside me, and sat on the couch in that cabin. Kept on reading a book. I wasn't going out there. I can't imagine being in a camper. Imagine being in a camper and having that thing getting shook violently back and forth or picked up off the ground and thrown on the ground. I know a friend of mine, he was with his girlfriend years back in Vancouver Ground, and they're sleeping in the back of the van and something picked up the back of the van and slammed it on the ground. But anyway, there you go. I gotta carry on, get on with some things. I have a feeling I'm gonna be able to finally load my hunting book tonight. Finally. God, that was hard. Doing everything myself. Everything. Hard. I'm stubborn. I like to learn and teach myself. It's just a son of a bitch. It's like trying to teach yourself how to speak Chinese without an instructor. That's what it's like for me. As long as you don't quit, you get it, right? There you go. I think Sarah had a St. Patrick's Day sale on her shirts and hats and shit in the store. I don't know if that's too late or not. What else? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get that to me. And there's a lot of people out there waiting for me to get back to them. I will shortly. Now I got this book out of the way. Sarah's starting to heal up. I'm almost back to normal from my bout the other night. Oh my God. And if the share my story is too clogged up, tell my story at howtohunt.com works as well. All right. And don't forget, for all of you curious and you need to know what's really frickin' going on out there, and you're done with the bullshit. Thank God you're done with the bullshit. At least listen to the last hour of the Sean Ryan podcast with him and Tim Kennedy. I think it's about an hour. Or if you can, possibly listen to the whole thing over the course of a few days when you're working or whatever you're doing. Just put on the headphones and hit play. But I think the strongest messages and most important I've felt for all the people is the last hour of their conversation. Hit it up. Hope I remember to put it in the description. And hopefully, I'll be back tomorrow.